Well, good morning, and welcome into the Farzy Show today. Marc Farzetta with you here at the Steven Singer Studios. What a great win! What a great win for the 76ers. We're going to start off with that. We're going to talk mostly about that today because it's just so exciting to not just see playoff basketball again, but to also see all you fine people at the Wells Fargo Center screaming your heads off. Let's start it out with my friend John Clark, NBC's that this is. Just look at how gorgeous that is to have so many people on their feet screaming and yelling for the 76ers after that first win of the playoffs against the Washington Wizards. And ladies and gentlemen, here's what's so incredible about this win. And we'll get to the numbers, we'll get to the impressive performances and all that stuff in just a second. But here's what's so amazing about this. If you were going to lose a game to this particular team, this was the game to lose. If you were going to bet against the Sixers in any game of this series, this was going to be the game to lose. I have a friend who covers the Wizards. I'm going to try to get him on this week. Very busy man. But we were both talking about it. This was the game to lose, where you had the long layoff. The Wizards were obviously just coming off playing recently and playing well, by the way. Just played 2 games. No layoff there. You have 2 guys that can certainly get hot for you in Russell Westbrook. 3 guys, actually. Bertans is another guy who can start hitting it from 3, and he can't keep up with him. Bradley Beal, second best scorer in the league. These are all guys that can get hot for you and carry a team and bury another team, and this would have been a game where that could have happened. But if I would have told you that you were going to go into this game, and not only were you going to have that long, week-long layoff, by the way, and you might be a little rusty if you're the Sixers, you're going to face a team like the Wizards that have a couple of guys that are able to get hot for you, for them, I should say. And then on top of it, you were going to have Joel Embiid get in foul trouble within 2 minutes of the first quarter. Then, yeah, you might be betting against the Sixers in that game. But did that happen? Should you have bet against the Sixers? No. Did they fall apart? No. Did they have their struggles? Absolutely. But did they bounce back? You damn right they did. A great win for this Sixers team. Tobias Harris, I was going back and forth with some people on Twitter, and one of the things somebody said was that Joel Embiid was the close the game. Joel Embiid was the closer for this game, and you're absolutely right. He was incredible in this game, especially in the fourth quarter when he really helped the Sixers team establish the win, right? But what was great was if he was the closer, then Tobias Harris was the starter. And Tobias Harris was the guy that just gave you so many great innings of work in this game. And he was the guy that, when you look at how he played in the first half with 28 points, you felt like you were going to be taken care of. That's what it felt like watching Tobias Harris, because it didn't look like Ben Simmons was going to be giving you much of the scoring aspect. Everything else, great. It certainly didn't look like Joel Embiid was going to be able to give you much, simply because of the foul trouble that he was in. He barely played in the first half, it felt like. And then you see 11 different Sixers play in this game. The bench got emptied, more or less, in that first half, to the point where Tyrese Maxey was scoring points for you, and you could hear the crowd eating it up every time you saw him on the court. It was a relief to see them hanging with this team and only down a point at halftime, especially when you did not have Joel Embiid, especially when you did not have, when you did have the long layoff. And the Sixers, they hung in with them for that first half, and then they really established themselves, the Sixers, in the third quarter. And that was the only quarter of this game that wasn't decided by a point or less. Think about that. It was the only quarter where another team actually took a little bit of control, and the Sixers in the fourth quarter somehow magically were able to solidify their lead and then hold on to it down the stretch. So when I watched Tobias Harris in this game, I saw somebody that I will liken to a great starter, if you were in baseball, because we always overuse that term now in many sports when you talk about a closer, and that's what Embiid did. Tobias Harris more or less was your starting pitcher that gave you a bunch of strong innings leading into your closer to come in and take care of business. But I never felt like watching this game that I was never worried about whether or not they were going to win or whether or not they're going to win this game. I felt like they were going to be able to put away the Wizards at some point. And although they never blew them out by any means, it always felt like the Sixers, especially in the second half, were in control of this game. And Tobias Harris is the biggest reason for that. Joel Embiid, there was nothing, like he couldn't miss in the fourth quarter. And he was shooting from everywhere on the floor. He was getting points in the paint. He was having the mid-range game, the jumper, the fadeaway jumper on the baseline, hitting a three for you. He just looked exactly like you would want your MVP candidate to actually look like. And that was such a relief. There are many things we could talk about in this game. But there's one thing that's just, it's in the back of my mind, and I hate to even give it attention. But it's gotten attention on social media. And Marc Zumoff and Alaa Abdel-Nabi had Ben Simmons in after the game as their post-game guest. And first off, Ben Simmons, 15 rebounds, 15 assists, absolutely incredible. Not so incredible, which is the obvious point, right? Yeah. While Marc Zumoff is asking about the 15 rebounds, 15 assists, somebody tweeted me, because I tweeted out the quote, because Ben Simmons says, yeah, that was pretty cool, but just happy to get the win, as he should. But somebody tweeted me saying, how does Zumoff not ask about going 0 for 6 from the foul line? I'd be flat out shocked if a home announcer asked a player after a playoff win, a player that just had a double-double with 15 rebounds and 15 assists, how he missed his 6 free throws. And although you'd like to see Ben Simmons improve upon that, I don't think that's going to make its way into the line of questioning after the game. And here's the other thing. I see a lot of people focusing on the 6 points for Ben Simmons and the 0 for 6 from the foul line. Congratulations. You're right. You would like to see Ben Simmons have 6 points, more than 6 points, and shoot better than 0 for 6 from the foul line, especially down the stretch when you could use those to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, right? If you hit some free throws. Congratulations. You're correct. However, congratulations on highlighting point number 12, 13, on what overall was a great game played by the 76ers, considering, again, a long layoff and considering you didn't have your MVP thanks to foul trouble and atrocious foul calls, by the way, early in this game and really throughout, if you really think about it. So, yes, it's a point to be made, but it's so far down the list that it's not that big of a concern for me. Because here's the other thing. Unfortunately, it's not that much of a shock. If Ben Simmons would have had 20 points, I would have been shocked. And if he only had like 6 assists and 5 rebounds and was 5 for 6 from the foul line, that would have been more shocking. But this is exactly what Ben Simmons has done throughout the year, with the only exception being the month of February, where somehow he shot over 70% from the foul line. So for the people that want to focus on this one thing, I feel like it's the people that for the people that are focusing on this, it's like focusing on one McNabb worm burner in a game where Brian Westbrook had like 160 all-purpose yards and T.O. had 2 catches for 50-plus yards and one was a touchdown, and it was a perfectly thrown ball for McNabb on that. Like, I feel like it's just focusing on the negative to focus on the negative. And I think Doc Rivers knew exactly the direction this was going to go for a lot of fans because he got asked about the game from Ben Simmons. And I thought Ben played a great game, great defensively. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook had no idea what the hell to do when Ben Simmons was guarding him. Forced him into turnovers, held him to 10 points when he was guarding him. And then you have the rebounds and you have the assists, setting up guys like Tobias Harris, setting up guys like Joel Embiid. So, yeah, Ben Simmons played a great game yesterday. There's more to the game than points, all right? Other people can score points for you, especially if you have a facilitator like Ben Simmons, especially if you're a defender like Ben Simmons. And I got the feeling, in listening to this answer that I'm about to play for you from Doc Rivers, I got the feeling that Doc Rivers knew a lot of the route a lot of people were going to take. Here's Doc Rivers talking about the game Ben Simmons had with, yet again, 15 rebounds, 15 assists. Here's Doc Rivers.
It's funny, I thought he was special tonight. Whoever he guarded struggled scoring. He created so many points for us tonight. Off the glass to 3, off transition to 3, creating switches that they didn't want to have. I mean, he's a treasure. I mean, he's something that you don't see a lot in this league. And he has such a skill set that is so different. There's a lot of people that can't make one of them. All I see is greatness in him. And I just want him to keep doing what he's doing.
All I see is greatness. All I see is greatness. He's a treasure. Need more people like him in the league. I mean, you can't tell me that you didn't get the vibe listening to that answer that Doc was like, 0 for 6 on the foul line, only 6 points. People are going to focus on that. All right, let me lay it on pretty thick from my boy. And he's done that really throughout the season. But it's gotten to a point where it's not just saying nice things about one of your players. He is laying it on extra thick when it comes to Ben. But I agree with everything you said because that's exactly what you saw from Ben Simmons in this game yesterday. You saw that exact type of performance where he was extremely special, defensively speaking. He was insanely special, a treasure, if you will, setting up his teammates with 15 assists. And in terms of his aggression on the boards, a treasure would be a good way to put that as well. But using those words and laying it on as thick as he did, I really got the feeling that Doc Rivers was trolling the people in Philadelphia, the Negadelphians, if you will, that just want to focus on the negative aspects of the stat sheet when they barely watched the game and saw what Ben Simmons was able to do for this team. And unfortunately, that takes away from a great performance from, again, Tobias Harris, who was just dominant, especially in that first half, helped you close out that game as well. And even gave the hat tip to B-Ball, Paul, and some other guys on the practice squad, more or less, that were helping this team get ready for this game throughout the last week. So Tobias Harris, great teammate and all that, great performance from him. Joel Embiid gave you exactly what you wanted to see him exactly what you wanted to see from him in the time that he was actually on the court, regardless of the foul trouble. And then to even see a guy like Tyrese Maxey get into the game and even get you a couple of points, that was great. Matisse Thybulle was the first guy off the bench. I was really curious to see what the rotations were going to be like. And by the way, we're going to get even more into the 76ers coming up with Kyle Neubeck of PhillyVoice. He's our guest today. We're going to dissect everything that happened yesterday with the Sixers. But overall, it was just a great feeling. You felt like they definitely needed to work out some cobwebs. You probably wouldn't have felt as much like that if you had JoJo for more time than you did, especially in that first half. But you really got contributions from a lot of guys. George Hill, great contributions off the bench for this team. But it was interesting listening to Doc Rivers more so post-game. He talked about how this wasn't exactly the plan to have 11 guys come in for you and empty the bench. This wasn't the plan. When he had talked about during the regular season, you don't know when you're going to have to empty the bench in the postseason. I want to see, make sure these guys are ready. I want to make sure a guy like Tyrese Maxey, if called upon, will be able to go out there and give you productive minutes. And he was called upon to do so yesterday, and he did do that. The only guy that really, I thought, struggled mightily off the bench was Furkan Korkmaz for you yesterday. There was a period there nobody could really throw the ball in the ocean. But Furkan was the one guy off the bench that I'm like, I think I'm good on Furkan. We can leave him aside for a second and see these other guys get some run. Shake Milton got you some run yesterday. It wasn't overly impressive, but I was surprised to see as many people as you did, even with the foul trouble that you had from Joel Embiid. So we'll dissect that even further with Kyle Neubeck. But it was interesting to see how many people jumped right to Ben Simmons in this game, a game that the Sixers won. And we'll play a little game maybe later in the program in our morning rush segment that we're going to entitle How You Know You're a Negadelphian If. We're going to have some fun with that coming up in a minute. I do want to just quickly mention the Philadelphia Phillies. They salvaged a game yesterday. That was fun. They salvaged a game yesterday against the Boston Red Sox in a 3-game series. They win the third game, and the bat showed up a little bit, and that was nice. And Zach Wheeler was just nothing short of spectacular yet again, who has certainly emerged as this season's ace, at least. He also came up with another hit from the plate, which is always nice to see. But Zach Wheeler has been the most pleasant surprise of this season. A lot of people, myself included, when he was acquired, when he was signed, a lot of people, myself included, were looking at Zach Wheeler thinking, all right, well, let's see if he can get you that first half. Would he get you in the second half of the season? Let's see if he can do that in the first half of the season. Because throughout his time with the Mets, it was always a rocky start for him. And I didn't start. It was a rocky first couple of months of the season. before the midpoint of the season rolled around, and that's where he actually started to pitch a little bit lights out. And that's the guy that you wanted to see the Phillies acquire. That's the guy they have gotten this year. And he has been phenomenal this year. Getting you strikeouts, getting you hits as a pitcher, like I said, making you feel like you have a stopper in this rotation. Because Aaron Nola, being as bad as he has been this year, and it's gotten past the point of inconsistent. It's been consistent where we can't talk anymore. And I said this his last start. You can't continuously say about Aaron Nola, well, he didn't have his best stuff, but he battled. Like, no, at some point you have to have your best stuff. At some point, if you're going to be an ace, if you're going to be a guy who's going to be a Cy Young candidate, you have to consistently have your best stuff. And he has consistently not had his best stuff this year. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning in the first game of this 3-game series. Settled in nicely in the middle there, and then in the fifth, sixth inning, started to let the wheels come off again. And I know, defensively speaking, that he did not have a great defense backing him up on Friday night. However, the runner should be on the base paths to begin with. And some of the pitches that he left hanging out over the plate that you're not used to seeing Aaron Nola really do throughout his career, he hung them over the plate and they got belted off the wall on a couple of different occasions. So you need to see a much better performance from Aaron Nola, bottom line. Defensively speaking, whoever's on the mound, that doesn't mean that you should see Alec Boehm on a short throw to second base and trying to catch a runner in a rundown, throw it into center field. That's something you should never see. And Bryce Harper, you got to think, is playing hurt at this point. The numbers have just been terrible for Bryce Harper lately. But in that same game, you're looking at him dive for a pitch to the left side, and he dives for it, just barely misses his mitt. He pops up, tries to make a play, can't do it. And you see him still giving, I think, 110%, if you will, but just dealing with it has to be an injury issue for him. It's got to be. But he's trying to play through it right now, I think. He's had enough injury issues already this year to the point, even in the spring training, when you're trying to just see him bounce back a little bit here and give you a little something extra. And he's just not able to do that. And from the plate, again, the numbers just have not been there. But defensively speaking, it just looks like a little league team at times. From a pitcher's standpoint, you're watching Aaron Nola disappoint you now, really, in almost every start that he's had for the last month. And you're now relying heavily on a guy like Zach Wheeler really carry you through the season as a stopper in the early goings here. Spencer Howard, I thought, had a pretty solid start for himself, considering it was his first start of the year, considering he had just been stretched out in the minor league. So hopefully you get a couple of more innings out of him the next time he's on the hill. 5 strikeouts, I believe it was, in his first 2 innings of work. So that was great. But when you saw that 3rd and 4th inning, I think it was when he got to his innings count that he was on, which is always weird to me. If you're going to have a count of any kind, it should be a pitch count, I guess. But overall, I thought he was very impressive. The inning that they got to him in, you saw a couple of plays not necessarily go his way. One case was a little flare out to left. They scored on a sac fly. Another was another defensive miscue. But overall, I was impressed with him and look forward to seeing him start for the rest of the season for this Phillies ball club. So we'll see how the Phillies hopefully are able to turn it around. Here's the other thing. With as bad as the Phillies have played, they're still very much in this. It's not like anybody's getting buried right now in the NL East. So we'll continue to see them hopefully fight their way through all of this. Before we get to our guest today, Kyle Neubeck from PhillyVoice, I do want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer, Steven Singer Jewelers, and all of the great stuff Steven Singer has going on for you. If you haven't checked him out yet, go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut or simply check out IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. For every personal purchase for my friends and family, I always send them to Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven, you know what he does every single time? The perfect price. Every time, the perfect price. Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, wants to let you in on a little tip here. Other jewelers, they'll mark up their jewelry so that when you go in there, they have room to negotiate with you. So they would try to get the top price from you, but guess what? You go in there a little nervous because you feel like you have to negotiate. Not at Steven Singer. Everything's already set at the perfect price. Everyone, other jewelers must hate this guy because of that perfect price. Every single time, the perfect price. Steven Singer Jewelers, you're guaranteed that every day, all day, every day, 365 days a year. That's why I trust Steven Singer Jewelers, and you should too, because every time you know you're going to get taken care of with real jewelry experts. And every time you're going to get that perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com or simply go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut right in Philadelphia. One place, one price, Steven Singer Jewelers, IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's continue to break down this great opening series, first game of the series, first game of the playoffs for the Sixers. Let's continue to break this down as we'll jump on the Zatos Investments guest line with our friend Kyle Neubeck of Philly Voice. And joining us now on the Zatos Investments guest line from PhillyVoice.com, Sixers beat writer Kyle Neubeck joins us. Kyle, how are you, man? 1-0 Sixers up in the series.
Yeah, man, I'm just coming down from that atmosphere at the Wells Fargo Center. That was I haven't had many fun times over the last year or so, but it was good to be down there. I'll say that.
I got to say, I mean, when I see Joel Embiid at the beginning of the year signaling to no fans to bring it on, and then I hear tonight with, 11,000 fans down there at the Wells Fargo Center just going bonkers. What was that atmosphere like for you?
Oh, it was terrific. And now for the audience at home, keep in mind that it was completely empty. And so it was, I've described it to people as very dystopian at times. Like they play Welcome to the Jungle and nobody's there. They're trying to hype up a crowd that doesn't exist. And now we get to a playoff game and it's the half full. And when you go from that to half full and it's, first playoff game, number one seed, everybody's excited for this team. It was terrific. Like we got refs, you suck chant. There was that. There was the pregame intros telling the other team they suck. There was I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this show, but there was a FU Westbrook chant. Not the censored version in the fourth quarter of that game. So we had everything. It was all the animosity was out. We got a bunch of MVP chants for Joel. And in the third quarter, when they went on that run and Seth Curry capped it off with a 3 in transition, that's the first time it really that was a pop that you could compare that to, even 100% capacity games in the past.
Yeah, I'm just picturing while Welcome to the Jungle's playing and nobody's there, it's just you and Matt Mullen headbanging to it.
I'm just, in that situation, I'm just like, what the heck did I get myself into? This is bizarre. So thankfully those days are over, at least for now.
Exactly. It certainly came through the TV as you would expect, that energy and everybody said this after the game. And I know you tweeted it out as well. Like you didn't know if you were just watching the game and you didn't know, like if you had been under a rock for the last year and a half and you didn't know that it was only half full or whatever, it certainly, you felt the electricity and the players spoke about that after the game. Did they not?
For sure, yeah. And Doc Rivers made some comments that will probably get some people mad. I don't know if you saw that. He said, if that was 10 or 11,000, he said, I think we might be counting like Republicans, making a joke at the, poking at the election stuff that happened over the last however many months or so. So I'm not sure how that's going to go over for first-year head coach, but they all were like, man. I think Danny Green said something to the effect of, look, we were not only coming off of a week off where we had to get into rhythm a little bit, we were all really excited. This is the first time we played in front of an arena that was this full all year. So that's okay. It was a thing they really had to adjust to at the beginning of that game. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Even a guy like Danny Green, he's been in every situation there is to be in the NBA. And even he said he was a little disruptive, I guess.
Well, let's talk about that. Not just the atmosphere, but just coming out to start out this game. Sixers have that long layoff. They hadn't played in a week. Wizards obviously played a hell of a lot more recent than the Sixers did. And Joel Embiid gets in foul trouble on top of that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. If the Wizards were going to steal a game one would be it alone simply because of the layoff and the rust factor, if you will, with the Sixers. And also on top of that, if you're telling me Joel Embiid is only going to play a couple of minutes in the first quarter because of foul trouble and be hampered by that for the entire first half, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, wow, that's going to be a Wizards ball game. If they're going to steal one, that would be the game to do it.
Yeah, and they were very fortunate that Tobias Harris came out and was just firing dagger after dagger after dagger. That is, I think, with no exception, the best half he's had in a Sixers uniform. I think he simply put the team on his back. I thought they had a good game plan. He was guarded by Rui Hachimura, who he's a good offensive player, but still has a long way to go as a defender. And he has trouble in particular getting caught on screens and navigating through traffic. I thought the Sixers did a great job of just, giving Harris the ball, running him off screens, and he was able to get a lot of separation. And, guys like that, once they see a shot, 2 shots, then 3 shots go down, then it's just like it's a snowball rolling downhill. And Tobias talked about it after the game. He's like, look, I'm here to win. If that means I got to come out and in a half like that, I got to score a ton, great. If that means Joel is the main guy and I just got to hit timely shots, great. Like that's the role he's served all year, and I think he's happy to do it.
I had a little back and forth with somebody on Twitter that was talking about Joel Embiid as the closer, right? That analogy gets used a lot now from baseball. It gets used now in football. Hand the ball to a running back, he's the closer. Joel Embiid in this game was the closer. If you were to make that analogy, it felt like Tobias Harris gave you 7 scoreless innings, and Joel Embiid came in and pitched basically 6 shutouts to get or 6 shutout innings to get the save.
Yeah, and in a lot of games this year, it's actually been the opposite. It's Joel who comes out in first halves, and he's just kicking the crap out of dudes. And then Tobias at the end of games, he's hunting switches. He's the guy looking for mismatches. It's a little bit easier to do that as a perimeter player than Joel almost always has a mismatch in the post, but he can't bring the ball up. He can't get the ball to himself. So almost by default, a lot of the time, Tobias is in that role. So it's nice that they have that interchangeability. Certainly if you had your wishes, you wish it'd be the same person every night that was just a dominant closer. And maybe Joel will get there. He certainly has been in rare form this year, but it was nice to see Tobias handing it off to him, and then Joel, for the most part, there's some sputtering near the end, but he got them to the finish line, I think.
A couple of things. One, the foul trouble. One, what'd you think of the calls? 2, Tyrese Maxey getting playoff run.
And the crowd loved Tyrese Maxey, by the way. I don't know if you guys could tell at home, but there were the loudest pops other than the big runs were anytime Tyrese Maxey got in the game, let alone did anything. So he's a fan favorite.
Yeah, definitely. He had the N1 early on when he just came into the game. That was great. So, real quick, the foul trouble that the Sixers got into early. I never like to focus on refs, but for this was like the land of make believe with some of the calls in the game tonight. And I'm not blaming them for the Sixers having a bad start, but what did you make of the officiating in Game 1 against this Wizards team?
Oh, it was terrible, and they called it. They called it tight for a while, and that was to Joel's disadvantage. I think the second foul was a soft foul. It's the type of foul that I think, it gets called in the regular season pretty much every time, and I would have expected them to let that go. I thought his third foul, where he basically, he stuck his arms up, and Alex Len just barreled into him, and he got called for foul on that one. I thought that one was egregious, but I don't want to say they were bad both ways for a lot of that game. There was a sequence shortly after Joel's third foul where Raul Neto went up for a 3 and got absolutely clobbered by Dwight Howard, right in front of the official, got smacked. He made the jumper, and then he gave the official an earful, and the official teed him up, which is you can't get the call wrong and then give the guy a tech when he complains. And now I don't know what he said. I'm sure he said one of the magic words that earns you the automatic tech, but man, that's brutal. So I thought they had a poor showing overall, and I thought the worst thing was that they were inconsistent, which is the worst thing you can be as an official.
Certainly, you got to be consistent in everything that you're calling, no doubt. So we've talked about Joel Embiid, we've talked about Tobias Harris, we even talked about Tyrese Maxey, and then there was this other guy who plays the role of facilitator for the Sixers. His name's Ben Simmons. 16 rebounds, 16 assists. He's pretty good at that. So Doc Rivers after the game, we've gone past the point, Kyle.
Yeah.
Of complimenting. We've gone past the point of appreciating, and now we're just flat out at the point of gushing over Ben Simmons, and from Doc Rivers gushing over Ben Simmons in his game. What did you make of his performance tonight?
That was the ultimate Ben game in good and bad, I will say, because he did only score 6 points, which a lot of people will stick on. But look, some of the passes he made in that game, where he's threading passes through traffic, hitting guys off the bounce in midair, in stride, where they're just able to walk into layups or open threes or whatever it is. His passing was terrific. I thought, even though Bradley Beal ended up having a great second half, I think Ben is one of the few guys that could actually make him work for his points. I think you see his defensive versatility all over that game. But then in crunch time, he basically can't touch the ball, and they have to have their center initiating offense because Ben is 0 for 6 from the free throw line, and he can't be trusted to run the offense. So you see like every part of who Ben Simmons is. He's super impactful, imprint all over the game, and is able to, like, the big run they went on in the third quarter to sort of take the lead for good. His hands are all over that. But then when they're failing in crunch time and their offense is slowing down and they can't figure out what to do, that's because their point guard couldn't touch the ball and he's just sitting under the basket, basically a non-entity on the court. So I get the controversy around this guy because he gave something to the people who love him and he gave something to the people who hate him. It's a little something for everybody.
He's so generous. By the way, just to correct myself, 15 rebounds, 15 assists, not 16. So excuse me. But yeah, and the defensive prowess is just off the charts. Do you think he does win Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he probably won't. If I had to guess, I think Rudy Gobert is probably going to be the guy to win it again. Like, look, I don't love it. I think Rudy Gobert is a very valuable defensive player, but he does one role very well rather than, Ben is moved all over the court. He's like a walking chess piece, essentially. And I would like to see, not just like specific to Ben, I'd like to see guys like that rewarded more, because this ends up being, in a lot of years, it's a big man's award. And, to some degree, rightfully so, defense is most important at the rim for a center. Like that, if you're not a good defensive center, you're not an impact player. But it takes away from guys like Ben in the past, guys like Kawhi Leonard, who probably should have won it more. Even like Draymond Green, I think his impact, he was a center, but he's not a traditional center. Right. So the type of defensive reads he's making get undersold. So I think Ben's going to end up caught in that zone where he'll get a lot of votes and he's certainly in the running, but I don't think he's going to win.
That's unfortunate. Now, as far as this rotation went from Doc Rivers tonight, was a lot of this because of foul trouble, or was he really planning on playing guys like Maxey and Furkan Korkmaz getting run? Was he planning on using, 11 guys total in this rotation today?
I have to think no. I don't think he really had a choice at a certain point. And I will say he deserves some credit to a degree. If he was planning on going 10, and let's say he was going to play Shake and Furkan, and those are his bench guards other than George Hill and sort of the swing pieces, the fact that he sat Furk, who is one of their most reliable shooters, and said, look, we're throwing the rookie into the game, we're going to see what he has. I thought that was something that, that I don't want to say it impressed me, but it's something I wasn't expecting from Doc. I thought he was going to come in with his guys, especially game one. They spent the whole season getting to this point. You sort of live with what got you here, but I think he was a little quicker to change than maybe I expected. I think that's probably a positive sign heading into the rest of the playoffs.
What do you make for the rest of this series? I mean, like we both said, this was the game to steal if the Washington Wizards were going to steal a game, and they didn't steal it. So what do you make of this series going forward over the next at least 3 games?
I still think Washington might get one. Like, I felt generous giving them a game when I did the preview, because I just think that the gap between these two teams is pretty significant. But, Bradley Beal, they played great defense on him, and he still found a way to get going. Russell Westbrook was, I don't want to say straight up terrible, but was bad for a lot of that game, other than, when he was able to push the pace in transition. They were able to bait him into shots that they want him to take. He'll have better games. We'll see about their role players. I thought their supporting cast actually played a little over their heads, probably. The Sixers will clean that up. I think Washington will make these games tight because they have so many scoring options, and this was more of a Wizards game than a Sixers game, right? Like, it was a lot of run and gun. It's a high scoring game. This doesn't really suit Sixers as much as it does Washington. So I think if they're able to do that in game one, maybe they can impose their will in that way and steal one the rest of the way. But, Joel's going to play more. Ben will probably score more than 6 points. I think they'll get more from Furkan. They'll get more from Shake Milton. I think it's going to be a pretty easy series for them, if I had to guess.
All right, but still, it almost feels like Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, whenever, can go off and at least make it a game in the fourth quarter, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think it's a team with that backcourt. They're never going to be truly out of games unless the Sixers have just unbelievable shooting performances. And maybe they will. They miss a lot of open shots tonight. Even Tobias Harris, I think he could have made some of the cleaner looks he got. I think he missed tonight. So, they left some points on the table. Maybe they're able to get a blowout or two here. But I think for the most part, these are going to be high-scoring games. And then next round when they, maybe they play the Knicks, it'll be like 95-90, some real 1990s basketball. Nice. We'll see.
Nice. Yeah, Joel Embiid has like 30 post-ups, whatever. Last thing for you, most impressive thing about this win, other than the fans, other than Tyrese Maxey, what was the most impressive thing to you, Kyle Neubeck, PhillyVoice.com, about this Sixers win?
I think it was just that they were able to win a game that was not really conducive to success for them, right? Like Joel Embiid, their big first half player, taken out of the game by foul trouble. Bradley Beal gets going. They weren't able to stop him. Bertans gets going from deep. Ish Smith is going. Daniel Gafford plays well. And yet still, through Tobias Harris, through their shooters, like Seth Curry getting going a little bit, Joel dropping the hammer in the second half, like they found a way to win. And I think it's a testament to who they've been all year. Like, yeah, that wasn't an ideal game for them, but it was a win at the end of the day. And that's ultimately all that matters at the end of the day is if you collect 16 wins, you win the title. So
nice.
15 away.
Not 50. Checking them off one at a time. Hey, I haven't heard Louis. Is Louis out for a walk? Where's Louis?
Louis, I think, is napping right now. But, you never know. That might mean that Louis is getting into some stuff and tearing up the apartment.
Okay, I'll let you get back to Louis then. Kyle Neubeck, PhillyVoice.com. And by the way, Louis is like not Kyle's brother who lives with, it's his dog. So just for people who didn't watch before. Kyle Neubeck, PhillyVoice.com. Always great talking Sixers with you. Enjoy the rest of the postseason run. I'm sure we'll check in with you again at some point this postseason, Kyle. Thanks so much.
All right, appreciate you, brother.
Kyle Neubeck joining us on the Zatos Investments guest line. Perfect. Always a pleasure catching up with Kyle Neubeck. I like that he always brings the fun. And not just talking hoops, but also talk about like the ambiance, right? All the people that are having fun down there at the Wells Fargo Center and how that comes through. By the way, Matt Mullen, if you don't know, is editor and writer for PhillyVoice.com. So I just always picture him and Kyle just headbanging to Welcome to the Jungle, whatever it might be. Anyway, thanks to Kyle joining us there on the Zatos Investments guest line. All right. Well, I'll save it for the morning rush here. But I think it's time we do kind of highlight how you can tell whether or not you're a Negadelphian. And we'll focus on that in just a second. But right now, I do want to tell you about our friends over there at Philadelphia Sports Nation. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Check them out over at PhiladelphiaSportsNation.com, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs, social media, as well, all social media. PHLSportsNation.com. Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. I got a tweet over the weekend and somebody was enjoying Her's. That's right, Her's, brand new sponsor of the program. And they want me to tell you about how much I enjoyed the fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn. Got a tweet over the weekend of somebody that was enjoying that during the game yesterday. It is delectable. I don't use that term often, but I do use it for Her's fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn because it is that amazing. So here's what you get. You get that fire-roasted sweet corn that has the delicious, buttery, creamy, savory taste with a little bit of a spice to it, a little bit of a kick to it, right? Fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn. You get it all. It's the perfect bite of that wonderful street corn in every bite, every single time. So it's just like that savory, buttery taste that you have from the fire-roasted sweet corn with a little bit of spice to it. It is just that good. Try it. The all-new fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn is a must-have when you're on the beach, when you're sitting at home enjoying a game, at a barbecue. You bring a bag of this to a barbecue or like 5 bags of this to a barbecue. Crack it open, put it on the table, and then just enjoy the praise that you're going to be getting. Hey, who brought this? This is delicious. That's what fiery hot, fire-roasted sweet corn does for you from Her's. It is delicious. Also want to tell you about Zatos Investments. Zatos Investments, an up-and-coming luxury real estate development and investment company in the Philadelphia area. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to make sure they get substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. These guys are crushing it right now in Philadelphia. Follow them on Instagram. Their properties, they put up pictures of their properties. These things are just beautiful. So you got to check them out Like I said, they're crushing the Philadelphia real estate game. To see some of their properties and learn how you too could invest with Zatos, reach out to them at info@ZatosInvestments.com or simply visit ZatosInvestments.com. I really hope you guys throughout the playoffs are having a lot of fun on FanUp, issuing challenges to friends, winning some money, earning some points with the FanUp app. If you're not in on it right now for the playoffs, get in on it now. All right? Go to the App Store, download the FanUp app, and let the games begin. You get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate to play with, and you'll have yourself a great time with that. Plus, FanUp is the only app you can win great brand prizes. They just gave away a Peloton. They gave away a pair of Jordans a couple of weeks ago, Louis Vuitton bag, memorabilia. FanUp is where it is at. You could be the real MVP at FanUp. May the best fan win, because at FanUp, you could squad up with your friends, and they also want you to know that the days of playing fantasy sports alone, they're over. Download the FanUp app in the App Store right now and have some fun. All right, let's get to our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine. Oh, excuse me. I do want to tell you about Steak and Maine because I'm going to be seeing Tony Cavada today of Steak and Maine. We're going to be down 9th Street in South Philadelphia, right there, the Italian market. We're going to be at a little place called Rim Cafe, as a matter of fact, where he is going to be cooking a 500-foot cheesesteak. And I'm going to be down there. I'm going to be having myself a good time. I'm going to do a little Farzy in the field with some people there. Here's what's going on. It's the Godfather's birthday. Renee is this gentleman's name. I haven't met Renee, but I'm going to go down there. I'm going to meet Renee. And he is having a bunch of guys from mob movies. If you enjoy Goodfellas, you enjoy Godfather, you enjoy the movies like that. These are a bunch of guys that have been in those movies. All right. You know them from the background, maybe. Some of them you know them from the foreground. But I'm going to be down there doing a Farzy in the field. I'm going to talk to these guys. Tony Cavada invited me to go down. My buddy Luciano Russo invited me to go down as well. So I'm going to go down and see these guys and hang out for a little bit and bring you a fresh Farzy in the field this week with the fine content I get down there from all the cast of characters that will be down there on 9th Street. So I'm going to be doing that, and it's all because of my good friend Tony Cavada invited me to go down there. But you should go down and check out Tony Cavada's place, Steak and Maine, in the heart of Northeast Maryland. It is amazing. You got to check this place out. I prefer the tomahawk steak. You get some fine lobster. They got a great oyster bar, and you could also enjoy a fine Cavada Cellars wine. They got a great wine list, but don't forget about Tony Cavada family wine right there you can have at your table. It's just that amazing. Open every day for brunch, for lunch, for dinner. Steak and Maine in the heart of Northeast Maryland, voted #1 place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. So check them out, steakandmaine.com. Now let's get into our social media check-in, brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Dan Schwartz, you're on fire today, my friend. You are all over the place, and I always appreciate that. Dan's checking in saying right now, last time I tried something Marc suggested, it was Dietz and it was a pack of Dietz nuts. Dietz nuts are delicious. Get a pack of Dietz nuts. All right. If what was it, Craig Robinson? If Craig Robinson can enjoy him, why can't you? What else do we have here? People checking in saying good morning. My man Mike Fuji. Fuji, what's happening, brother? Good morning to you. What do we got? Benny? No, Sealski. Are you guys trying to make Mike Sealski like my Charles Grodin? My Charles Grodin, rest in peace. Is that what you're trying to do? Mike Casey saying, let me know when the parade is scheduled for when we go 16-0. That's a basketball reference, not a football reference. Now it's 17-0, just for the people scoring at home. Nick saying, good morning. Good morning, Nick. Nice to have you. Matt checking in saying, we won 15-15. Agree with Marc. Would like a triple-double and points. No, I agree with you. Who won it? Matt's checking in, not mad. So that's good. He's not mad at Ben Simmons. That's good. Totally a Negadelphian right here. Dan Schwartz is saying that. Dan, don't be a Negadelphian. Have some Dietz nuts and don't be a Negadelphian. What else do we have? We got Brett's checking in. LOL. WTF. You're crazy, Benny. Why is Benny crazy? Because he's ripping Mike Sealski. Nice to see you, Benny. I am going to have Mike Sealski on for an entire week. For the entire show. I'm just going to have him come to the studio and just co-host with me. Just to troll you people. All right. Rob's checking in saying, Marc, how do you feel about the deep rotation? Oh, I did mention that earlier. I feel like the deep rotation was more a product of Joel Embiid in foul trouble than it was anything else. And I think Doc Rivers said, he didn't, I don't think he said this. He did say this. After the game, when he was addressing the media in this post-game press conference, he came out and said, you draw up strategies, you draw up rotations, and all of it kind of goes out the window when one of your key guys, one of your starters gets in foul trouble as early as Joel Embiid did. So I don't think it's going to be a regular thing. I loved what I saw from Tyrese Maxey, the brief amount of time he was out there. I meant to double check how many minutes he played. It couldn't have been more. Yeah, 7 minutes. I was going to say it couldn't have been more than 10. But played 7 minutes, got you a field goal, got you an N1, got you 3 points in those 7 minutes. So I'm happy with that. As I did predict, because I think our same guy here is telling me about the conversation I had with Broads a couple of weeks ago about the deep rotation. Yeah. The bet I made with Broads was you're not going to see 10 or 11 guys play at least 19 minutes. That's not going to happen. And in this particular game, to go back to the box score real quick, to go back to this particular game, yeah, you had a bunch of guys that did play more than 10 minutes. Dwight Howard, Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, and George Hill all at least played 10 minutes. But your starters were all in there for at least 30 minutes, and that includes Joel Embiid, who was in foul trouble, but he still got you 30 points and was a plus 20 when he was in the game. By the way, Ben Simmons a plus 18 in the game. So that's nice to see as well. But yeah, it doesn't faze me really at all as far as the bench went, and they won the game. So in a game like that where there's the long layoff, the foul trouble, the bench didn't bother me as much, seeing as much of those guys in there. Henry went off at one point. Mark, I had to rewind that. He didn't hear me say headbanging. Apparently, he thought he heard me say something else. So now I'm going to have to rewind it myself and just make sure I didn't say something stupid. Well, I probably said something stupid. People enjoying the Hers. That's good. Thank you for doing that. Is the cheesesteak thing public? I don't know. I'll tweet it out when I get down there. I'm pretty sure. I know they're going to have like a velvet rope at some point for like the actors and all that. But I'll tweet it out when I get down there. Or I'll tweet out before that. I'll text my man Tony and just find out if people can come down to this. I'm sure they can. That was a social media. Oh, social media check-in. Also, Craig Shoemaker, my old friend Craig Shoemaker, Hollywood celebrity. Speaking of celebrities, Craig Shoemaker's chiming in on our Twitter here about Ben Simmons and the foul shots. And he says, how can you be a professional athlete? Basically, I'll paraphrase. How can you be a professional athlete and not be a guy that shoots like 85, 90%? Should be in the gym every day working on it. From what everybody says, he is working on it. I've been down there. I've seen him work on it. I hate the idea of a mental block, but how all of a sudden do you have a month of February where you shoot over 70% and everything else is like 50, 60% from the line? I mean, look, I am all for Ben Simmons being a better scorer. And you know what? Let's close the book on the social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Main and SteakerMain.com. But I have said this before. These things can be true. They're not mutually exclusive. All these things can be true. You could be like me and say that Ben Simmons' all-star appearances are more than valid. You could say that he's a great basketball player. All that can be true, but you can also say at the same time that you want him to be a better scorer, whether that's being 6 for 6 from the foul line, whether it's being 5 for 6 from the foul line, or whether that be him having a mid-range game, or, oh my God, both. All those things can be true. You can still love Ben Simmons' game and what he does defensively, what he does on the glass, what he does to facilitate. You can love all that. But you can also say, man, I'd kind of like him to be better in this one other aspect or this other, the scoring aspect of the game when maybe you don't have Tobias Harris getting off to the start that he's got off to. Maybe you don't have Joel Embiid scoring you 30 points every single night. Maybe he's having an off night and you want somebody else to step up, and that person should very well be another max contract guy in Ben Simmons, a 3-time All-Star and a Rookie of the Year. I'd like to have that option. And I am the first person to say, you know what? It's not about whether or not they just won this one particular game. It's if you take this and how they played and extrapolate, right? Take it out and say, all right, well, if they did this against the Nets, would they still win? And the answer to that question is probably no. They probably don't win that game. But it was the first game of this playoff. Ben Simmons did not play his best game scoring-wise, while other players like Tobias Harris did. So I'm not going to focus on just the one negative aspect when I am amazed on a positive note by the way Tobias Harris played and by the way Joel Embiid closed this game out. And the fact that you did have an 11-man, let me just get the right number here. You have your 5 starters, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 players play in this game. at least 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and marvel at that. And you had your rookie Tyrese Maxey get you 7 minutes in this game. I'm going to go ahead and be pleased with all that before I go, oh, Ben Simmons misses foul shots. Like, come on. Let's jump to it real quick and have some fun with this, okay? You know you're a Negadelphian if you see one guy go out there and get a career high in the postseason, and that's Tobias Harris. You're focusing on foul shots. You're a Negadelphian if you're looking at Joel Embiid and going, well, 30 points, that's cool. But did you see Ben Simmons miss 6 free throws? You know you're a Negadelphian if there's a number of things, including a playoff victory, happen, and you're going, well, yeah, but he only had 6 points. And by the way, that same player that you're being a Negadelphian about had 15 rebounds and 15 assists and played just great defense because you know why? He's a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Why are we still talking about this? I have told you multiple times that Ben Simmons is not all of a sudden going to snap his fingers and be some great free throw shooter. He's not going to snap his fingers and all of a sudden have some great mid-range game. That ain't happening. It's going to have to happen over the course of an offseason. An offseason, by the way, I don't want to see any pictures on Instagram or him working out with a shirt. Like, I don't need any of that. Just come into the next season with that mid-range game. Come into the next season with a decent foul shooting percentage. Can you give me 75%? Can you give me what you gave me in February this past year, which was the best month I've ever seen Ben Simmons play all around? You're a Negadelphian if you're focusing on just the foul shots and 6 points from Ben Simmons. But if you're looking at all the other headlines, like when I look at this and I look at storylines in this game, like Tobias Harris is the leader in the clubhouse, man. When it comes to his performance against the Wizards, then it's Joel Embiid and the foul trouble. The referees, another one. Good God. I know we got into that a little bit with Kyle Neubeck, but holy pots and pans. Terrible officiating performance. The fact that you played 11 guys in this game, the fact that you did have Joel Embiid at a plus 20, you did have Ben Simmons at a plus 18, you did have Seth Curry come in and really help you rally in that third quarter, by the way, hitting some threes for you. I mean, there are multiple things you could talk about before you get to Ben Simmons and free throw shooting. And this, like, people are acting like he's a 90% shooter and this game was a fluke. Like, people are acting like they were used to seeing Ben Simmons play at such a high level when it came to scoring. Like, this shouldn't be anything new to anybody, unfortunately. It's just wild. Like, you know, you're a Negadelphian. I used the analogy earlier as well. Like, I feel like we're talking about that one worm burner from McNabb when he had, a 50-yard touchdown pass to T.O. and B. West went off for 160 yards all purpose. Oh, yeah, but did you see that one worm burner? Oh, and the Eagles won. Like, that's if you know you're a Negadelphian, if that's it. All right. And for people that will come at me saying I'm negative, like, a lot of times I'm just telling it like it is. And today I'm doing the same thing. I'm telling it like it is. I'm not going to be pissed off after the Sixers won a playoff game and you had two players play so great like Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris all around, and also got a great performance from the guy that people are ripping in Ben Simmons. It's not like he went out there and did nothing. Yes, he needs to improve his foul shooting. Congratulations. That's footnote number 20 on the game. Anyway. So that's the game right there. If you, what was it? It was the Fosters was the old commercial. How to speak Australian, right? It's like Philadelphia accent's so damn popular right now. How do you know if you're a Negadelphian? That kind of thing. Your team wins playoff game and you're bitching about 6 missed foul shots. Anyway, it's hard to try a Philadelphia accent when you live here. Anyway, so thanks to people that were checking in there. What else do I have for you? Oh, this is great. More on our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars at skymotorcars.com. Darius Slay. There's a new Netflix movie out, and I can't remember. Army of the Dead, I think it's called. But it's better without context. So I'll refrain from giving the rest of the context. Here's Darius Slay. I always like to give you something weird. Here's Darius Slay on his Instagram account. I won't even tell you what he was doing, but just enjoy.
What's up, everybody, man? It's your boy Big Play Slay for the Philadelphia Eagles, man. If I was out there playing football, I think I'd be pretty good at slaying zombies. I would use my bat to be killing every one of them. I mean, smacking them, man.
Yeah, okay, so we was talking about that movie Army of the Dead on Netflix, that zombie movie. Here's the thing. I love zombie movies. Oh, man. Actually, my wife and I might be the only people left watching Walking Dead. No, my wife bailed last season. I might be the only person left watching Walking Dead. So I'm all about the zombie movies. But so Darius Slay apparently was pushing Army of the Dead on Netflix. For people that like the zombie movies, I'll probably check it out. That big dude that was in the movies and stuff, he's in it too. Bautista, is that his name? He was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So I'm going to actually probably end up checking this movie out. But Darius Slay was hawking that movie, and he was pushing that out to the good people. So that just found to be hilarious. Your number one cornerback is talking about killing zombies. So let's hope the rest of the NFC East is a bunch of zombies, and Darius Slay just has his way with them. Something else, Charles Barkley getting ripped again, ladies and gentlemen. This time it was Shaquille O'Neal calling him out on TNT last night. Check this out.
I actually thought they did a good job on Bill and Westbrook. They played really good defense.
Ernie, sorry to interrupt. I know snitches get stitches, but he was not watching the game. And I have proof. I'm just saying.
Who?
You weren't watching the game at all. Look at him, Ernie. He was not watching the game. So do not go to him.
That must have been during a commercial break.
That was doing
had to be.
Sleep
nights,
Kitty.
young man.
Look at him, Kitty. Ernie, don't ask him
And then he
You can find me in the club. Bottom full of bro.
No. So from what you were able to see in the first half, what'd you think?
I was a little tired today, Ernie. I shot a commercial all day yesterday in the sun, so I'm a little tired.
Charles. Well, it must be just like this isn't breaking news. It must be wonderful being Charles Barkley. Just like we should all like that should be a fantasy camp. Like in the show Seinfeld, George says that people should plunk down $2,000 to go live like Kramer. When Kramer goes to a fantasy baseball camp, I think it was. It's like, no, people should pay money to live like Kramer. People should pay money to live a fantasy camp where they're Charles Barkley for a week. Like that would be, I would pay good money to be Charles Barkley for a week. The man has his fun. All right. That was our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars and SkyMotorCars.com. Let's get into this. Big bets. I was a busy man over the weekend. I don't like every once in a while, I will get super competitive. If I'm playing a sport with friends, hell, if I'm playing a video game, whatever it might be with somebody, I might be, not that I've played video games in a while, but it's been a while. I'm a very competitive person. And when I'm betting, and this is Big Bets brought to you by DraftKings and DraftKings.com, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I couldn't help it. The Warriors lost to the Grizzlies, and I bet the Warriors. I told you guys to bet the Warriors. They lost. So I started the weekend off on the wrong foot. And I think that made me bet more. Because here's what I did. I lost the bet, Warriors -3.5 against the Grizzlies. And then I didn't really want to bet any other playoff games because I kind of wanted to get a feel for the game. At least that's what I told myself. Or at least get a feel for the playoffs. And at least that's what I told myself. I ended up betting. I never did this before. I ended up betting on the Sixers' next basket. And you could hit a 2 or a 3. And I bet on a 2. I don't know why. And I won like $2. So whatever. I won $2. So there you go. And then I was looking at the Sixers and I was looking at the point totals in the 1, 2, 3 and quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they were all well over 50 points. And I was like, you know what? The fourth quarter, things are going to slow down a little bit. The line was 51.5. 51.5 for the fourth quarter. And I'm like, you know what? I just got a good feeling about this. Let me take the under. Let me say under 51.5. Sure enough, under 51. They scored 51 points total in the fourth quarter. I hit on the under just barely. So you know what? Also, the Ben Simmons foul shots. Hey, thanks, Ben. So there you go. I bet that, and I won that. I hit on that. I bet the Knicks at -0.5 point yesterday, going up against the Hawks. That was looking real good with a couple of minutes left. Burks all of a sudden was hitting shots for you. Derrick Rose hit a big driving layup for you. Everything was looking great. That Spike Lee was going crazy on the sidelines, and then Knicks ended up losing. I love those games because they basically come down to the pick'ems, obviously, and I picked wrong. So I won the basket total for like $2. I won the 51.5 under for the fourth quarter for the Sixers, lost the Knicks, and then I couldn't help myself. I couldn't end the night on a loss. And I was eyeing that Grizzlies team against the Utah Jazz. And I saw, obviously, the Jazz did not have Donovan Mitchell playing for him last night. So I was like, let me get in on that action. And what did you know it? I bet the Grizzlies last night. They won. And, of course, more importantly for me, they covered the plus 7.5, and I hit on that bet. It was a busy night for me, ladies and gentlemen. It was a busy weekend with DraftKings. So hopefully you guys get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. So bottom line is I did all that, and I won like $7. So if you guys need a loan, you know who to come to. Anyway, thanks for watching the show, everybody. A blast, as always. My thanks to Kyle Neubeck for joining the program and breaking down all things with the 76ers. I hope we can really just – I feel like with Ben Simmons, I feel like Jerry Springer, and I have to like end on a final thought of positivity of like why can't we all just get along, right? I will say I am going to cherish this playoff run. And it's for a lot of reasons. Number one is that seeing fans at the capacity that they're at the Wells Fargo Center makes me feel so damn good. Hearing the fans, hearing after the game players talk about the fans and how they impacted the game, like it's just so incredible. And to everyone that's able to go down there, congratulations to you because you deserve it. For everybody that's watching the games at home, and hearing that buzz again, that is the 76ers fan base, that is the Philadelphia fan base, whether that be at the Wells Fargo Center or whether that be at Citizens Bank Park, it really does make you feel good, and it makes you feel like that normal that we knew for so long, almost our entire lives, is slowly but surely and almost abruptly now to a point coming back. So to everyone that went down there, thank you for making me feel normal again, even though I wasn't down there with you, unfortunately. I was celebrating with you from my sofa. But to everyone that was down there, thank you for making me and everybody else feel pretty much the most normal we've felt in quite some time. Thanks to Tobias Harris. Thanks to Joel Embiid for helping provide that as well. And yeah, thanks to Ben Simmons for a great defensive performance. For being great on the rebounds, being great on the boards, being great with the assists yet again. And yes, congratulations for people that think it's good to hit foul shots. Wow, you know basketball. But anyway, let's hope the Sixers get out to the 2-0 lead. Tomorrow will be a fine Hughes day, and then we also hope to have another special guest break down all things 76ers. Thanks to Jim Hyden, who produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzy. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. Take it easy.